So now move into move back to pandas. So we have seen the fundamentals of pandas and what is a data frame and what is a series and how we hold a data in a frame. That's what we have seen so far. The next question that arises, the next question that pops up to your mind is, how do I read and write tabular data? So I have a tabular data in spreadsheet, a CSV or JSON, a lot of other way, HTML or SQL. How can I read the data? And after reading the data into data frame, how can I write that data into again either CSV or Excel or Paracute, JSON or HDFS? So before we do the practical demonstration, let me see what method from pandas will be useful for us. So let's get into the Jupyter notebook this time. So as usual, let me click on B so that I can create a new cell below. Yes, that's it. So now, so we have to import the pandas. If you want to work with pandas, you have to import the pandas package first. So let me import the pandas first. Pandas as pandas as pd. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, let me import the pandas first, and let me execute on that and create a new cell. So shift enter. Here is that. So there is no issue with the import of pandas as alias pd. So this is the alias pd, so no issue at all. So now what I'm gonna do is we will see what type of methods will be useful for us to read and write a tabular data into our data frames. Okay, for that let me take any variable name. So I'll say data frame equals to pd and click dot. You should get attributes as well as methods, attributes which are attached to the pandas package, and obviously or methods. So let me click on tab and you should be able to see a lot of methods and attributes all together. So let me come to the R side where you can find the read. You see that read clipboard. Okay, read CSV, read Excel, read feather, read FWF, read GBQ, read HDF, read HTML, read JSON, read ORC, PARQ, pickle. Pickle we will discuss. I think I have discussed about the pickle in OOPS object oriented programming in my intuitive Python for you course. Kindly go back to that course and watch it if you want to know more about the pickle. And read SQL, SQL query, SQL table, stata table, XML options. So these are all to read. So if we come back here, you see that CSV, Excel, all files can be read using these specific methods. Okay, you can see that all methods were given by and large from here to here. Let me zoom it a little bit more. Yeah, now it would be far better for your visualization. So now this is to read. So at this moment I am not going to take anyone or anything, or let me take read clipboard and do this, and let me execute what's going to happen. Obviously we'll get a obviously we will get a error because we haven't mentioned anything, because here you see that in the parser after the bracket, after the parenthesis, you should give you the required information. Okay, that's fine, that's not the point of discussion here. Okay, so now how do you write it? Okay, so reading, you got to know that we use these method read XLSX or read CSV respective method from the pandas to read it, but how do you write it? That's the next question. You want to write it into Excel, then how do you do that? Okay, so for that we use a different method. So what is that? Let me show it to you first. Here is that. It's a to. So read any type of, let me click on, read any type of format to any type of format. That's what read underscore asterisk and to underscore asterisk. That's what it's saying. Okay. To read any type of file, we use a read underscore and then file respective format type, and then write to write that into respective file format, we will use a to underscore respective file format. So what I am gonna do is I will show you that. Okay, yeah. So this time I will take write to example Excel. That's okay. And pandas d dot, I'll go with the 2 and here test. You see that to date time, to numeric, to pickle, to time delta. So based on which type you require, so you can give that information. Okay, so let me get here pd flag index option read information, then you have a to information, to date time series and all that. And similarly you'll have a to, you'll have to Excel, and you'll give this and respective file will be stored, but you have to mention the data frame here in addition to the whatever is there. Okay, you have to mention the data frame. In spite of giving the pd, I have to say data frame, for example df. Okay, let's do that practically, but I just want to show you methods first before we get into the action. So that's the reason I'm showing the respective methods. I hope you got it. You got it. Okay, so now let me delete this one d, and again let me delete this also d. Okay, deletion has been done. So now let's read our first CSV file. So what we are gonna do is I want to analyze, I want to analyze the data, users data. So let me click on B and change it to markdown and enter. So analyze the users data. So for that we have to read from CSV file. Got it? So escape and click on 1 and shift plus enter to execute and create a new cell. That's it. So now I'm gonna bring, so what, the data frame name I'm gonna give users and then equals to, so pandas pd, I have already imported it. If not, let me import it one more time because I have deleted it, correct? So let me import pandas as pd. Done. So now I'll say users, let me, sorry, users, and so pd. Now which method we have to use? Of course, correct, as we have discussed earlier, we have to use a read method, so read, and I want to read a CSV file, so that's the reason I'll click on read CSV and tab, so all the information which can be useful. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I have to queue the file. So but before that see, I'll show you the location. This is the hands-on, and this is the first Jupyter Python file, and in the same directory I placed my users data CSV. This you can see, let me show this type. It's a comma separated values file, CSV. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, so I can directly find this in this location. If you want, you can cross check it. Let me scroll down, and here is that users data CSV. So let me click on this directly and use this, and I don't think it's necessary. You can remove that, and let me execute it. There is no error. That means pandas has read the tabular format data correctly without any error. So now just to cross check, what I'm gonna do here is just, I will call that, I'll display. So to make sure to always have a check on the data after reading in the data. When displaying a data frame, the first and the last five rows will be shown by default. That's what happens. So let me call that data frame users data frame. So now no more it's a tabular format. It's no more a tabular data. It's a data frame data. It's a data frame. That's it. It's what data frame it is. It's a user data frame. Here it is. You see that? You can see your data here in a table, a comma separated values file has been processed into data frame by read CSV method of pandas package. That's it. Okay. So now here you can see the first five rows and then last five rows. Total shape of this data frame is 891 rows. That means 891 records and 12 columns. Total 12 columns, or it has a 12 series and then 891 records. Clear? Yep. Okay. And these are all series labels: passenger ID, survived, P class, name, sex, age, CBSP, Parch, ticket, fare, cabin, embarked. So that's what all the series labels, and this is our users, is our data frame. Okay. So now I want to see the first 8 rows of pandas data frame. So how can I do that? Want to see first 8 rows of pandas data frame, or I'll say users data frame, because that's what the name we gave, users data frame. So let me click on escape and mark down. I'll put it to 3 and execute. These are the questions, so that's the reason. Got it? So now how can I do that? It's very simple. I just want to see only top 8. So first what I'm gonna do is, I'll say data frame name users and dot. This is our data frame, and let's click on this tab and see what all methods are available, what all methods or attributes are available. You see that a lot of things are there, lot, literally lot. But what I want is just take head, yeah, just head, and then give a default one first. Don't mention any value inside that, and execute it. Here you see that when you give a head without any value inside the parenthesis, because this is a method, so obviously parenthesis is must and should for a method. So, and as you if without a value inside a head, so this is what you get of top 5 records. So but what I want is a first 8 rows of users. That's what I want. So I'm gonna give number 8 and click execute. And here you should see top 8 records. Okay, Mr. Owen, Mr. John, Mr. Orlana, Jacques, William, James, and Palson Master. So these are the top 80, top 8 or first 8 records of the user's data frame. Okay. So this, the shape, what's the shape of this data frame? It's uh, just a minute. Yeah. So the shape of this data frame is 8 rows. You see that 8 rows and as usual 12 columns. That's what the shape of this data frame. And another way what you can do is you can save this as a separate another data frame saying top 8 df. Okay, top 8 df and put it there. That's it. Now let me call top 8, top 8 df, and here is that. And you can apply the respective methods to it. I'll just click shape. Shape is a method, sorry, and here, shape is an attribute. You should not give a parenthesis because it's an attribute. So what's the shape of this top 8 df? It's 8 by 12, 8 by 12, or 8 rows with a 12 series. Clear? Yep. So then, so here, then we will look into the tail. If you want to see the last n rows instead of looking at the top n rows, pandas also provides a tail method for data frames. So let me take this. So I'll say bottom data frame. Let me just take it. Users dot, I'll say tail, and then execute. Here you can find out the last 5 rows or last 5 records. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'll put a number 8, and here I'll say bottom 8 users. Okay, bottom 8 users data frame, bottom 8 users data frame, and execute it. And let me call bottom 8 users data frame, and con control enter, and here you should see 883, 888, 84, 885, 886, 887. So it's clear. So the bottommost 8 users were shown. So that's how we use a tail. If you want to just change it to 15, and you'll get a users, another data frame with the 15 users. If you want to see the shape of that, so let me change it back to the 8. Okay, let me change the name to the 15, and let me change this to 15 here and execute. Fine. So now let me call that bottom 15 users df. I want to use shape and execute. Here you see that total it consists of a 15 rows and 12 series or 12 columns with 12 labels. Okay, so now quickly let's have a check on how pandas interpreted each of the column data types. So this can be done by requesting the pandas d types attribute. Now, so far we have used a pandas method as well as pandas attribute, and pandas method that we have used is either head or tail, and later we used a shape is an attribute uh, to get the shape of the data frame. But this time I'm going to use a different attribute. But what we want to see is uh, find out the data types of each series in our data frame. Okay, so let me convert into the markdown and put it as a 3 and execute it. And okay, so now I'll take the user's data frame and method. I'm gonna go with the d types. Yeah, and as it is an attribute, you don't need to give a parenthesis because it's not a function, it's just an attribute. Okay, so that's the reason I'll just execute it like that, and here it is, the complete information. The passenger ID is int. Let me cross check. Yes, it is. Passenger ID is int. And after that, survived is int. Yes, yeah, it's survived is int because 0 and 1. It's integer. It's an integer data type or integer object. Okay. Then we have p class. It's again int. Yes, 3312. It's an int. Then we have name. These are two objects. I think yeah. Name is an object and two objects. Basically, these are the objects of class, the class that we have taken. Then we have age, how it is mentioned. Okay, it's 20.4, 19.4, 56.4. It's a float. Okay, it's a floating point number. But sex is also an object. Then SIBSP, it's int. Parch int. Ticket, we have, it's an object again. And then fare, let me check the fare. Yeah, it's fare. We have 9.858458, 7.8958. This is absolutely a fare is absolutely a floating point number. Then we have cabin. Cabin is an object, embarked is an object. So total, what object type that we have used is a D type. D type is also an object. The type of data frame, D type is nothing but a type of data frame. So it's an object. Okay. So that's how we find out the data types of each series in our data frame. So for each of the columns, the used data type is enlisted when you call for the d types attribute. So the data types in this data frame are largely, as we have discussed so far, it's again int 64, float 64, and object. So when asking for the d types, no brackets are used. Why did we not use? As I told you before, d types is an attributes of a data frame and series. Attributes of a data frame or series do not need brackets. Attributes represent a characteristic of a data frame or a series, whereas a method which actually require a bracket do something with the data frame or series as introduced in my Python, intuitive Python course for you in OOPS, in object oriented programming. So there we have discussed about this, the difference between an object and an attribute inside that. So it's like, I'll give you a simple example. uh, what's your a characteristic, your color, your nationality, these are all characteristics of your body. These are called attributes. Whereas if you do some activity, you bring it something, and you do some activity, when something is given to you, you had it, you had a food and you did some activity, that's called a function. You did some function, you did some work. Okay, so attribute is just a characteristic of that data frame, and function is the one, a method is the one which does some activity, some activity which will give some, which will process something new. Okay, that's what the difference between an attribute and method based on the data frames. So now we have seen a huge amount of discussion on those all these things. So now uh, my friend and my colleague who's around me, he requested this user's data in a spreadsheet so that he can distribute this spreadsheet to all other people. Of course, those are not tech savvy and they don't have that much of knowledge on what is CSV and what is data frame and all those things. So he wants this data frame as a CSV. So how can we provide that? How can we do that? It's simple. We have discussed. It's like this: a 2 underscore and an asterisk underscore. So this method should be used. So let me get back to the Jupyter and let me write that. So write the data frame to Excel spreadsheet. So let me convert into the markdown and put 3. Yeah, got it. So now what I'm gonna do is, as usual, let me take the user's data frame and then let me get into the 2. You see that you got a lot of formats to be written. You have 2 CSV, 2 dict, 2 Excel, 2 feather, 2 GBQ, 2 HDF, 2 HTML, 2 JSON, 2 latex, 2 markdown, 2 numpy, 2 ORC, 2 parq, period, pickle, SQL, lot, lot. Okay. So now what I want is that guy wants only 2 Excel. So what I'm gonna do now, so let me open the square bracket, sorry, open a parenthesis because it's a method. So what's the name you want to give? That's the first parameter of this. So I'll say users dot xlsx. That's the name I have given to it. And sheet name, because we have to create, because this is the workbook name, this is Excel workbook name, so we have to give the sheet name. So the sheet name parameter you have to fill. So sheet name, so I'll give, this is sheet name is passengers. Of course these are all passengers of vehicle. And after that index, nothing much, let's give it as a false. Okay, that's it. So let's look into this one more time. So users, whereas read that we have discussed here, read underscore asterisk, all these functions or all these methods are used to read data to pandas. The two method, the two method, the 2 underscore asterisk, these all these methods are used to store data or to write data to Excel. So now, or to CSV or to JSON to HTML, HDF5 and all those things. Now using Excel, to underscore Excel method stores the data as an Excel file. So in the example here, the sheet name is mentioned as a passengers instead of default sheet 1. If you don't give this one, it is gonna take a default sheet 1, the name as a sheet 1, if you don't give. So let me do that. For now let me remove this. Okay, you can give it. Okay, and then index false. After that we have a setting index false. The row index labels are not saved in the spreadsheet, so we don't want to put it. So let me execute it, and there is some error. So args new arg value format the okay, let me see, no module named openpyxl. Okay, I got it. So this is what I have to um, basically bring it here to excel. Before we do that, we have to import that. Let me put it here. I thought I did it. Okay. Okay. That is because we are dealing with excel now. It's no more a csv. So let me take this one exactly, copy this, and come to the Windows PowerShell, install OpenPyXL. So successfully installed. So let's get back to our work again and execute it. That's it, it's done. Okay. Okay. So now let me get into my directory. So it's been saved. So the read okay, so this file has been saved with users.xlsx name. Okay, and let me call users.xlsx. You see that, you can see that file name has been appeared here. So now what I'm gonna do is I will create another data frame. So I will use an equivalent read function to reload the data to a data frame again, because this is a spreadsheet. So I'll say users Excel, and then pandas pd, and read this time Excel, and inside I'm gonna take users dot xlx. Here is that users dot xlx. Then I will this time the sheet name I don't need to mention because default one. So let me execute it. So let me say users excel df, and here is that. That's it. Clear? Got it? So it's been written into excel sx, and then it's been saved. Okay, and it's the page one. So this time what I'm gonna do is, so as usual, I will take the users this data frame, not excel users excel data frame. So users okay, so what I'll do is I will do some analysis on the data. So I will do the technical summary of a data frame, and I want to save that as a specific set, a specific sheet. Okay, so for that what I'm gonna do is I will create another data frame. This I'll call it as a info data frame. Okay, and then users, got it, that's the users data frame, and dot. So I'm gonna take okay, users, let me get into the alloc index. Yes, info is a method, and execute it, and here is that complete information about that. So what all we got, it's a class. Which class is, it's a pandas core frame data frame. It's a data frame class, and range index is 891 entries. It's 0 to 890. So that's what the total range of this data frame data frame. And data, this is our index, and columns, total it consists of 12 columns, or in another way we say it as a labels of a series. Total 12 labels we have, 12 series labels we have here. And then non-null count. So we did not get the count exactly here. Okay, we got the, here we got the non-null count. Okay, this is a non-null count. So 891, 891 all are non-null. So here in H, we got some null items. So only 714 are there in H. That means we are missing some. So this will be useful for in data cleaning. This is the first step in data cleaning. The initial phase after the data ingestion in machine learning, what we do is data cleaning. Okay, data analysis. In that we can check, so okay, how many nulls are there, how many non-nulls are there. This is called exploratory data analysis. We will be doing that, but for now let's look into the data. And here you should see in cabin you have only 204 non-null. That means all remaining eight remaining all records are of null. Okay, so other than okay, other than age and cabin, remaining all have a good amount of non-null values, whereas this has a lot of null values. And here you can see the data type also. So now what I'm gonna do is I want to save this a data frame into Excel in the same Excel sheet as a second one. How can I do that? So let me take this again. Okay, okay, and paste it here. And this time it's, which data frame is that? It's info, correct? Info df. Let me cross check it one more time. Yeah, info df data frame, and I want to make it into to Excel to the same, but this time it's a sheet. I want to use a sheet. The sheet name I want to mention here. Sheet name. So the sheet name would be passengers. Okay, then let me give this. Okay, fine. Oh, sorry, wrong. So passengers, I don't want that. I'll give info. Okay, and let me execute that. So none type of object has no attribute to Excel. Okay, this is info. This is info df. Of course. Okay, got it. Let me, before I do that, let me cut this and paste here. Let me call info df. Yeah, this is null type. That's my mistake. Sorry, it's null type. So let me keep this. Let me bring it one more. Let me do it, not this one. So that's okay. We have done the info analysis. So now what I'm gonna do is we are going to do the technical summary. But before that, what I'm gonna do is we have done the technical summary so far. So now we will do some analysis of data. So I want data initial 10, and then I will do the, okay, let's do one thing. Let's take users and then click on describe and save. See, this is what the statistics of my data, the total count. Here you are directly getting how many null values we got. So okay, so count, and then I got the mean of okay, this doesn't make sense. Mean of passenger IDs and survived doesn't make sense. However, mean age makes sense and mean fair makes sense, and standard deviation in their age is just 14 years. Okay, that's huge amount. And fair, it's $49. Fantastic. And minimum values, okay, the 0.42, I don't get it. Okay, and fair is this. Okay, 0.42 months, that's also possible. The kids, and these are all our. So, and the maximum age is 80 years. Okay, the oldest person is also there, 80 years. And then fair is 512. This is highest. Okay, now this is what the data we got. And let me let me put into this. So stats. Okay, this is a stats data frame. So let me click on A and I'll call stats and execute. Here is that. You got it? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this stats data frame. Yeah, stats data frame into this. So let me type the sheet name as stats or statistics of this data. And that's it. It's done. Okay. So now if you just want to see uh, that Excel sheet, if you want to read it, the stats, that other data, you can just take this same. Oh, no, I'll take this to read users Excel. Let me copy this and scroll down and paste it here. So users Excel and PD read Excel users, and then here I'm going to mention the sheet name. Okay, sheet name is statistics. What's that? The sheet name? The sheet name is statistics. So I'll just copy this from here. I'll paste it here. That's simple. And execute it. And let me do users Excel. And here is that. See? Now we are reading the page 2. Okay? So that's how we read and write data. And let me get back to, yeah. And so most important points to be remembered and is getting data into pandas from any different file formats or data sources is supported by read underscore asterisk functions based on the specific. The name will be added based on the format type. And exploring data out of pandas is provided by different two underscore asterisk methods. Again, it's specific to the specific format. If it is CSV, 2 underscore CSV. If it is Excel, it's 2 underscore XLSX. Okay, and the head, tail, info methods and the D types attributes are convenient for a first checkup of the data, and similarly describe is a convenient method for the to do the statistical analysis of your data quickly.